All right, let's talk about struggle love because earlier today I didn't call into the show because I was just using the show to catch clues as I was doing some work in the background, but I listened all the way through. So, not all the way through, at least half of it, right? And what I was hearing is basically a bunch of women say they don't want to do struggle love. But what I was hearing in terms of what they meant by struggle love made complete sense to me. Okay. By the way, even the word itself, it's just a terrible idea to encourage anyone to go to start. We're seeing a lot of people trying to encourage that, like, oh, you're just not patient. Like, for example, the first story we covered, the Frederick said, women be patient, right? Yeah, be patient, but for how long? I'm not going to encourage a young 22-year-old girl to stay in a 10-year-old just so that she can find out after the fact that it's been toxic, right? Or it's just not conducive or there's no future in it. I'm not going to encourage that. There's no room for that. I don't think that's a good idea, personally, So I'm with the ladies on that side for the most part, but there's some nuances that I wanted to spell out. I want you to be aware that the unrealistic expectations out in these dating scenes are real, and you probably have many of them, and you have to manage them. Okay, managing them doesn't mean you settle. Okay, and I'll tell you where you should draw the line in a second. Okay, I'll tell you where you should draw the line in a second. Uh, Unrealistic expectations everywhere. Okay, it's an epidemic. It is what it is. So the only thing you can do with it is manage it and talk to some people. Keep coming back to men of prestige because I'll be spelling them out as I see them. Right. So, for example, this conversation started with a young lady saying, "Hey, if you don't have a car and your house under your name, I can't be talking to you." Whoa, slow down. Just because you don't have a car or a house on your name doesn't mean it's going to be struggle love, right? That's not what it means. It doesn't mean it's going to be struggle love, right? What I'll tell you is this is what struggle love is. There was once upon a time. I'll see if I can dig up that video later on. I did a session on the 7 dimensions of unequally yoked that you don't want to cross. Okay, one of them was religion. You can cross them, just be aware that it's going to create friction. We talked about culture, right? You can cross them, just be aware that you can potentially create friction. Does that make sense? And so one of them is status in society, right? You can go as a regular person from Iyanokwaja and go and marry Otedola's son. Just understand that there's going to be some friction. Just be aware that you will have to walk through. It's not because people are being deliberately want to be evil to you, but people's reality is different. It's worlds apart, right? So if you come all the way from South Carolina, a tech babe, you make multiple six-figure a year, and then you go back to the village in Akure local government area to go pick up a guy who has been a organizer for the past 5 years. He's trying to be fancy with it. He's doing it Igbalode type. If you do that, there's going to be some kind of friction. It's completely two different worlds apart. So it's not necessarily about the money. We tend to focus on the money part, right? It's about everything else that happens. Is it as a result of or before or after? I don't know which one comes first. It's about whatever happens mentally, emotionally, especially, right? Because of the status. It's a reality. If you cross the race line to go marry somebody, it's not going to be neither of you guys' fault. It's worlds apart. The reality of these the two different worlds, right? So there's going to be friction, and you should be aware of that. Just be when you're aware of that, suddenly your chances of success in it increases just because of the awareness. Okay, but if you're naive and you say it's not a big deal, people after all do it. Oh, mommy, man, you don't know life, obviously. All of us, every single one of us will carry so much energy, belief systems, right? Things that are they seem suppressed, but not really. They're subconscious, right? And when you're put in a position that you're not familiar with, that's what boils up and brings your insecurity to the surface. And you're not gonna know, you're not even gonna admit this insecurity. How many men have you seen admit to having insecurity? They never admit to that, right? Because insecurity, what is that? That's a curse. I'm not insecure. Why are you telling me I'm insecure? Why is that gotta be insecurity? Well, we're all insecure in one thing or the other. So I don't know what the yelling is about. We're all insecure in one thing or the other. That's the reality. All right. So it's a matter of have you been put in a position that will bring that to the surface? And it's a matter of time. Something's gonna happen in real life. It's just going to happen anyway. You know, it's gonna happen anyway. So yeah. So when you say struggle love, it's not just money that can bring struggle love. Like you've been put in a position of it's unfamiliar territories and you don't feel safe and secure. That's struggle love, right? Sometimes it's needed. It's probably where you need to be to provoke some growth, because growth is a human need, right? And you need to grow sometimes. Sometimes it's just toxic. You don't need to be experiencing, like there's no need for you to put yourself through that, right? So for example, some girl who has options and now goes back to the village and marry some young man, like why don't you leave that young man to go and marry somebody that will find it easier to respect him? Because that respect thing is non-negotiable. Don't put yourself in a position where respect will be harder for you, because in our social construct, a typical man will need respect. That's his love language, right? He wouldn't even know. He can't put it into words. He's just like, no, I could do it. I could be a stay-at-home dad, but wait, just wait. So I know a few of them that run their mouth. I don't mind being a stay-at-home dad. Like, yeah, right. Especially if you have to run your mouth like that, you're the first that will overreact to it. So let's be guided. Everything comes down to emotions. When we're talking about relationships, money can tamper with emotions, but you need to refer back to the emotions that's been tampered with. That's why when people say he's a gold digger, I was like, what? Gold digger what? What else is happening? I get it. Money can be the trigger. But what is that tampering with? Why is she a gold digger? Why she gotta make some kind of money? But like, what? Security can be tampered with. A sense of security where money is problematic, right? And that's the part you need to pay attention to. Okay. So it's the mismatch. And mismatch in all the 7 different dimensions. I don't remember that right now. I think it's religion, culture, race, status, society, class, whatever class. Those things are real. If you're not aware and you're naive about that, that's going to tamper with your relationship, and you're going to point finger at the other person. Oh, she's a gold digger. Oh yeah, he's just lazy. No, like it came from 2 different words. All you needed to be is be aware, and then you increase your chances of success, because sometimes you fall in love with who you fall in love with. But you're responsible for your awareness to understand all these different things. Both of you are responsible for it, right? Quinn said, this is what too much social media do to men. Yeah, everyone. I dozed off. Sorry, sir. Hey, I just received stray bullets. I made you doze off? I made you sleep? I'm that boring? I'm just kidding. Let's see. So it's basically a mismatch in value system. Yes, you could call it that. That would create struggle love all the time. I would never encourage anyone to run into struggle love just because they think they want to satisfy, Kevin Samuels said you should be able to settle for $40,000. That's bullshit. You don't have to settle for $40,000 if you're completely out of that class. Learn how to socialize within your class. Okay, learn something that the other people don't know how to do. For example, step up to fine women and approach them and shoot your shot. That's what most men in this time and age are having a hard time doing. Learn how to do it. And suddenly you will stop complaining, because that's not your reality. Is it that easy? No. Everything I say is easier said than done. especially if your reality was just terrible experiences. Of course, But yes, it's a mismatch of value system. It's multiple variables there. Just be aware that, hey, if I'm about to go marry a billionaire's son or daughter, and I'm just not just, but I'm middle class, it's gonna be friction as a default. It's not somebody's fault. It's just the reality that you have two different realities. That's all you need to be aware of. And so when you get hit with a little crisis, you can respond accordingly because you're aware. You understand that, hey, your response is not defensive, right? It's still gonna be a struggle. I'll tell you that much. That's just the reality. But yeah, I think I got one more story to go through, and then this is very important because I think there's some lesson in it. And no disrespect to the person that sent me this message, but we gotta learn this lesson.